Renee Back, welcome to the show.
Thanks.
I'm so
Happy.
excited to have you here.
It's really exciting for me to be here too.
Yeah, it's crazy too, because we've done this on Zoom so many times, like dozens and dozens of times, but never in this capacity. So just quickly tell our listeners what it is you do. Who are you? Tell us a little about your business.
I am a brand photographer along with my husband. We also do portraits, and I have started in the last couple of years being an online photography educator as well.
What does that mean, online photography educator?
So at first, it just meant I was teaching people all kinds of stuff for free. But then I realized then you have zero time to yourself. And so then I decided I wanted to create courses for other photographers so that they could get the answers in their own time.
Is this like courses on actual like cameras and aperture and lighting? Is it
No.
courses on how to build a photography business?
So my first course that I came out with last 2 years ago was on Photoshop, because a
Okay.
lot of photographers have zero clue how to do that. It's just the scary part of photography. But then last year I decided to teach business. So photography business, how to grow your photography business, more portraits, even though I do branding, I was teaching portrait photographers how to grow their business.
Gotcha. How long have you and Kevin been doing portrait business photography stuff together?
2020, we started in the hardest year to start an in-person business.
What were
Probably
you
the
doing before?
so before that, he was working full time and I really wasn't doing much of anything. I had been a photographer for 10 years in a studio, then took a 10-year break.
Got it.
And then in 2020 said, "Hey, I want to start this up again for our own business." And then, yeah, we all know how the rest of 2020 went. So,
Did you have a realization quickly on in 2020, like, hey, if I can't do things in person, maybe I should move to online?
so what I actually wound up doing was I thought if I can't grow my own business, I can at least help other photographers. So I could answer, because I'd worked in the portrait studio and then all of this knowledge for years, I at least could help them, the ones that had established businesses. I could answer whatever questions they had. And so that kind of it blossomed there. I didn't monetize it right away,
Yeah.
but
Okay. I'm so curious too, because I feel like this is a really common objection or a rebuttal that people have. So you mentioned you first were going to start with courses in Photoshop. And I can't help but a listener go, yeah, but aren't there YouTube videos that teach that? Like, why would somebody buy a course where there is free information on the internet? What would you say to that?
so the reason why I created a course there is because so many photographers don't want to spend hours finding the right video.
Got it.
And from someone who has done that, you can spend forever looking for a video. And then the people say, you just do this and this and that. And people are like, I don't even know what those words mean. And
Yeah.
so I decided to, because I'd helped so many, I kind of built up a reputation in the photography world where people are like, you teach me, I don't want to go to YouTube. Just you tell me how to do it. So,
Yeah. You kind of become the aggregator for people. It's like sifting it out with filters because you can spend hours upon hours looking for a good video or the right video or someone who you like understand and relate to their teaching style. But there's also like there's tutorials and then there's how-tos and there's so many different ways to teach. So I love that you kind of put that imposter syndrome objection to the side and we're like, no, 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 I'm going to be the person who's going to do the research for you. I'm going to put it all together in one stop shop and make it really easy. Ultimately, just shortening somebody's timeline, right? Which is what we're all looking for. It's 2024. We're all like, get us there faster. Uber Eats, Amazon Prime, give it to me now, right?
yep, exactly. That was what my main goal was. I've done the hard work. Now, if I can save you time, then that's what matters to me.
Yeah, I love it. And you stepped into this business arena with relatively a very small social media following, right?
Yeah, when I first started, I started portraits before I started branding. So I really, in the portrait, I, I don't know, my social media was maybe like 400,
Yeah.
it's pretty
Yeah.
small. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it is and it isn't, right? Like we throw these numbers around and like that'd be crazy if 400 people showed up to your house for a party. But relative to social media and people building businesses on social media, 400 isn't really a lot. In fact, it's a number that I feel most people would think, I'm not ready. I'm not there yet. I can't start my business yet because I don't have a big enough following. Was that ever a thought in your mind?
Um, Not really because, well, as far as the actual portraits, it wasn't, because I feel like word of mouth is
Right.
how most photographers get their start. Hold on a second. Thanks, Graham. Um, but as far as teaching other photographers, then it was a huge thought in my mind, because I'm like, where am I gonna find these people
Yeah.
that want to learn from me?
Yeah. So at what point did we get introduced?
Um, I was I had switched to branding, and I was ready to put out another course, and I wanted to learn marketing. And your good friend Brad
Mhm.
talked about you and said how you basically knew all things marketing. And I was like, well, this is how I'm going to learn it then. And so I came to your DBE live experience, and it was the best. So I was like,
Yeah. I know. I remember you being in there. You were one of the standout students. The whole team remembers your name because you actually were posting your homework and you were putting up stuff in the Facebook group. And, we always take note. You always recognize who's showing up. And then you decided to join us inside of Empower, which was such a special gift. I'm curious if you had any kind of like resistance before joining Empower, because it's a big leap for people.
yeah, I did. The whole time I was thinking, if it's a certain price, sure. If it's not, then there's no way I can afford it. And for how valuable it was, just the free experience, I thought, okay, this is going to be out of my price range. So when I heard the price, there was major resistance, because it was the first time in our entire married life that I did not have the money already in the bank to pay it.
Yeah.
Like, we've been debt free our entire married life, and so, except for the mortgage for a little bit. But yeah, so I didn't have the money already to pay off the credit card.
Yeah.
And I was like, going into debt, then who am I? I'm not this person who takes on this debt that they can't pay. And how do I know if I'm going to make my investment back, and all of the things? And so that was the biggest resistance for me, was just not knowing where the money was going to come from.
Yeah. But did you know that it was like the solution you were looking for? It was the roadmap you needed, and you were just going to figure it out.
Yeah, 100%. I was
Yeah.
like, it's one of those things where, like, I've told you before, that if I could get this much value for free, what's going to be in this paid program?
Yeah.
And so I thought, if you don't take a leap, then you're not gonna find out. And next year I'll be in the same spot that I was. I'll still have the money
Mm,
that I had. That
that's,
money will still be
yeah.
there, but still in the same spot. And I thought, well, don't say you want to learn marketing and then a solution come along. And then you're like, I can't, I don't know. I don't know if I want to spend this money. It just
Yeah.
had to do it.
Yeah. I'm curious, your first launch that you did before you came through Empower, what did that look like? Did you make sales? Was it a struggle? Did you burn out?
So here's the funny thing.
Mhm.
I never launched it.
Okay.
So I knew photographers that wanted it,
Sure.
and before I really understood that if people pay, they pay attention, I was like, I know what it's like to struggle as a photographer. I'm gonna make it only $50, because that's all photographers can afford. And so I put all this work into it, and I did have 10 people join, which I'm like, I
Yeah,
mean,
that's awesome.
for no emails, no social media, no anything. I just reached out to these people. But then there were probably 30 or 40 others that I did not have access to anymore, because it was on another person's page. And I
Got it.
didn't want to, you know what it's like. You don't
Yeah.
you don't go on somebody else's page and try to promote your stuff.
Right, right, right. Of course not.
So I didn't launch it, but I was like, well, still 10 is not terrible for not putting any marketing into it
Yeah.
whatsoever. But that was before I knew anything about marketing. Like,
Yeah. I'm just so curious though, because I feel like a lot of people, if they did sell 10 of something, it doesn't matter if it's $50 or $500, I feel like that would create a sense of like, I got this. I'm going to continue to do it by myself and figure it out. So, what for you was the thing, like that line that you weren't thinking, no, I got this. I can do it. I made 10 sales by myself. And you were like, no, no, I actually want to learn from someone else who can teach me more, who can get me there faster.
I think I wanted to learn how to reach more people and the right people, the people
Got
who
it.
needed it, the people who wanted it, and not to just rely on actually getting in touch with individual people. That takes way too long, and I don't have time for that. So.
Yeah. I love it. We don't have time for it. We're busy. We've got stuff. We've got people's lives to impact, right?
Mhm.
So I don't remember if you ended up getting on a call with anyone on our team. Did you? You didn't, right?
Not.
Okay. So here's this financial number that you're like not so sure about. You don't want to put yourself in debt, yet you pulled the trigger, for lack of a better term, without even talking to anybody on my team. I'm so curious what went through your mind. Like, how'd you make that decision?
I don't know. I talked to my husband, I prayed about it, and
Yeah.
I was,
Close
and
your eyes and hit click.
yeah. Well, and it was okay, I wanted to get more on my credit card so I could put it on there. Well, that took too long. So I just was like, you know what? I'm just gonna pay as I go.
Yeah.
That's all it's gonna be. And I'm gonna figure it out. Because
Yeah.
one way or another, we always figure stuff out. So
Yeah. So take advantage of the payment plan, push the button and close your eyes.
up pretty much.
Okay. So I'm curious. I really am just truly curious. A lot of times you were saying like, we give away so much for free. We do. DBE Live is just crazy. And then there could be a potential for almost like a bait and switch feel when you get into somebody's program. So just curious on your opinion.
How I felt, did you bait and switch?
Yeah.
No, I wouldn't be here if I thought you switched. Um, I love that you have a whole team behind you, first of
Yeah.
all, because that helps us feel very welcome. As soon as we join and we get in the Facebook group, it's like, don't cry. You have an you have an instant family.
Yeah. Yeah. I
And
know.
so it's not bait and switch, it's actually more than I expected.
Oh, that's awesome. That makes me so happy. And now I'm crying too. I mean, we do everything in our power. Obviously, we wouldn't even, there's not even a cell in my being that could do a bait and switch. And so it's like, if that's what we're putting out for free, then you better believe we're going to amp it up like tenfold. And it's so interesting. We've run so many rounds. I mean, we're getting ready for our 19th live class and we're down to one a year. So for me to get to high numbers like 30, 40, 50, that means I'm doing this for a lot of years at this point. Every single time, the unanimous biggest takeaway from people is always the community. It's always the family. And we don't talk about that. We don't sell that. That's not what I'm teaching. That's not what I'm offering. That's not the solution. It's not a community. It's, I'm going to teach you how to, create, launch, and fill your digital course or program. Yet 10 out of 10, 100% of the time, people leave and say, man, the family. Why do you think that is? Just good people?
Well, I mean, you're pretty selective about who you want on your team, so
Yeah.
that's pretty important. But I feel like the ones that you draw, you know how to draw your ideal client, which
Yeah.
is one thing that you teach us, which is wonderful. And so if we feel a certain way, also others are joining your course that are like us, and we finally have a room where people support each other rather than try to compete with each other.
Yeah. How important do you feel like the support is when you're doing something that already kind of brings up a lot of emotions and imposter and triggers and comparison and um, fear of rejection? Like, how important do you think the community part is?
I think the community part to me is probably the most important part of it,
Yeah.
because if you feel like you're not alone, you can accomplish a lot more.
Yeah. Did you find friends in there that you're still connected to today? Yeah.
Yeah, I found friends that I got to do brand shoots for, friends that I got to fly across the country and see, friends that,
So cool.
like ones that we're going to meet up soon. It's amazing. And ones even this morning that we are texting back and forth, and just that it continues on. It's not just, hey, you're in this course and then you're done, and like graduating high school, right?
Yeah.
You forget all the people you went to school with. It's not like that. You actually make genuine friendships. So
That is literally my favorite part of everything. It's like when people who meet in Empower meet in real life and they tag me, there's like no better gift in the world for me, truly, than seeing people connecting together offline, especially when it's different classes. Like I was in class 12, I was in class 18, and there's people meeting and they're working with each other and hiring each other and hanging out and going to breakfast and meeting up in different cities and countries. And it is truly the best feeling because I also know the ripple effect of one day, like my deepest desire is one day that happens with your clients and you get to experience how cool it is. It's the best feeling in the world. What were some of the things that you maybe didn't expect, aside from the community, didn't expect to get out of Empower or learn while in that program?
Okay, that one I'm gonna have to think about for a
Yeah.
second. Community was definitely what I was
Yeah.
not expecting. Um, I guess one of the huge things for me is because I had already been in mindset for like a year. I didn't expect to get as much out of the mindset part as I did.
Yeah.
But that was like, I loved all the coaches and I love you, but that was probably one of my favorite parts.
Everybody says that.
I
I'm
know,
gonna have a complex one day.
well, but it's just, and it's beautiful because you're the one that brought it together,
Yeah.
and so it's to get to hear not just our own things, but hear each other go through things, even if we didn't have a question,
Yeah.
to get our things answered
Yeah.
on there through somebody else's eyes, and to have all of these epiphanies that we would not have walked away with if it wasn't for that setting.
Yeah. And it's very intentional that I don't do the mindset coaching because obviously I can, and it does come up on my coaching calls as well. But it's kind of like when a kid comes home from school and they say something that they heard their teacher say, and they're like, Mom, Dad, you'll never believe what, Mrs. Back said. Oh, what'd she say? And then they repeat it. And the parent's like, I've said that to you 600 times. And it's like, yeah, but sometimes we need to hear it from a different person. And so it's very intentional and empower that we do. We have not only because some of the stuff is outside my legal scope of practice, like I can't talk about accounting and legal. So we have a lawyer and an accountant, but it's intentional that we have Nick, the mindset coach, because you can't just hear everything from me or the other coaches all the time. So I love that that is such a big takeaway for you and everybody else. Everybody loves him. I mean, he's wonderful. And it's such important work that we have to do in order to do this strategy. We got to work on ourselves too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Everything about all of that. I loved having different head support coaches too.
Yeah.
Wasn't really expecting that we would switch every week,
Yeah.
because that they both teach completely differently,
Sure.
and both of them have so much value, and I feel like each one of us kind of bonded with a certain one over the other.
Hmm.
So that was something that I really appreciated too, is
Yeah.
that we all got exactly what we needed.
Yeah.
Even though there were so many different students, every one of them got exactly what they needed at the right time.
That's awesome. Also very intentional because we want to make sure there's different types of learners. You're going to resonate with different people. So when you graduated in Empower, where was your business after you graduated and where is it today?
After I graduated, I was currently actually, I had launched my course. Students had enrolled, which shocked
Yeah.
me.
That shocked you?
It did, because the whole time,
Well,
as
you
you,
raised your prices.
I did
Yeah.
a lot. The 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 people watching may not know, but you obviously know that you say pretty much, don't be surprised at all if you have a silent launch. A lot of people have a silent first launch. And so my whole time was, I'm going to be one of those that have a silent launch and it's going to be okay. I'll
Yeah.
learn from it. So when I actually have people enroll, I'm like, now I have to build this course. And so that's what I was doing then. And now I am getting ready to launch round 2. I'm creating a workbook and I have
Yay.
of it done, and I'm getting the rest of it done this week so that I can launch round 2, and super
How
excited.
much more confident and clear are you going into a second launch now that you've gone through it? It's been built, you have client testimonials.
Yeah, I'm a lot more confident round 2, and I'm even okay if round 2 is a silent launch, because
Yeah.
I've learned that it's okay. I've
Yeah.
watched other students do silent launches and then come back way stronger than they would have if they
Yeah.
had not had a silent launch. And so I've gone through teaching. I've learned better ways to coach. I've
Sure.
learned the questions more that photographers ask, and so I can be more prepared. Not that you're always prepared for what people
Right.
are gonna ask you, but yeah, a lot more confident, and to know that I have Empower that I can go back through and watch so that I'm not forgetting any of the steps.
Yeah, I love it. I'm so excited to support you in the second launch. I can't wait to see how it unfolds. If you were to tell anybody who's on the fence right now or not sure, like if you were just to tell them any insight, words of wisdom, what would that be?
Basically, if you have a voice inside saying, I really want this, don't listen to any of the objections. You have to meet your objections head on. You have to, because sometimes it's not the right time. Sometimes, there's things that come up in your life. But if a huge, strong part of you says, I really need this in my life, go for it. You won't
Yeah,
regret it at all.
I love it. I love it. Where can people find you and learn more about your business?
We mostly is at kevinandrenee.co on Instagram. That's where I typically am. I love to DM people. I love to interact with people. I love real connections. I feel like social media should be social, not
Yeah.
just media. So
Yeah. It's Kevin and Renee, RENEE
yes,
.co.
yep.
Yes. Okay. Amazing. Renee, I'm so grateful for you. It's been such a fun ride these past couple months together. I can't wait to see how the business continues to grow and evolve. And I'm just, thank you. Thank you for sharing your story.
Thanks for letting me be here.
Yeah. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you loved this episode, I invite you to be a part of our ripple effect and share it with a friend. And please, if you feel called, take 30 seconds to leave a 5-star review, and I'll be forever grateful. Until next time, cheers to your evolution.